In 2013, we took a trip to Italy to survey the area of Abruzzo. It was actually my first time in Italy after having heard about it non-stop for my whole time in my marriage with Aden, and after eating almost every day Italian food cooked by Aden. So it was great to be here. Unfortunately, we both felt ill during this time and we couldn't really enjoy the time as much as we wanted to. We came for about 10 days, which is quite a strenuous thing to do when you come all the way from Australia, but that was all the time that we could take off. We visited different towns that I can remember. We visited Casalanguida, Tufilo, Atessa and Roccaspinalveti. This visit to Italy was great. It was eye-opening for me, being the first time I was here. I needed to understand if I could see myself living here in the future and leaving Australia. We felt like our budget wasn't enough to get a home even in a small village in Abruzzo. So even though it was a great trip, we went back home a little sad, a little disappointed, and feeling kind of lost. During this time, life kept going on as normal. As I mentioned before, we moved cities for work. From Melbourne, we moved to Newcastle, and then a few years later, from Newcastle, we moved to Brisbane. In 2019, we took another trip to Europe. We visited quite a few cities, and then we concentrated in Italy as well, trying to find a place. We were more relaxed about it this time. We felt like it was a lot more of a holiday than last time, and we decided if something comes to us, just let it be. We concentrated in the area of Piemonte, particularly in the towns of Ocimano in the province of Alessandria, Casale Monferrato, Asti, Tiliole, and Revigliasco de Asti. Aden was familiar with the north of Italy because he had traveled to that area before, and we knew that connections with airports with the rest of Europe were very good, perhaps a little better than the south of Italy. So this was a location that we really needed to check out. The landscape was gorgeous, the mountains were amazing, the architecture was quite different from the south. It started to be really cold very quickly, but I guess it's just because of the geographical location, of course, and then that made me a little bit worried that it was going to be too cold for me from too early during the year. In saying that, there are great advantages to living so close to Torino, even if the weather is a little colder. Torino was a gorgeous city. We really loved it. We feel that it really has a place in our hearts. So who knows what will happen in the future. And in relation to properties, in the villages, we found that yes, they are a little more expensive than the south. But if you look hard enough and if you're patient about it, I'm sure you can find something that will work for you. After doing a little bit more traveling, we went south to the region of La Marche. We stayed for a few days in the city of Ancona, which is the capital of La Marche, a small city, very pretty though, with a gorgeous coastline. It's amazing. The prices in Ancona were of course higher than we would have wanted to pay, because it's not a small village, it's a town. So yes, that was more for tourism that we were there. But in the days to follow, we went about an hour away from Ancona to an area called, or to a little village called Jesse. It was a historical town, and as a historical town, of course, the prices are higher. We couldn't really see something that we saw ourselves really living in or renovating. So we decided to move on. We will visit Ancona again for sure on a holiday next time, but to live, or it wasn't really our choice back then. This time, after returning home to Australia, it felt very different to the way it felt the previous time. Yes, we knew we had a great time in Italy and Europe. We knew that long term Europe and Italy is where we wanted to be, but being home felt also peaceful, and it felt that there was no real rush in making the decision. It was a really good place to be emotionally for us, since we had felt for many years that need of finding a place to call home in Italy. But now, being in Australia and after this trip, it felt that we had reached a nice point of acceptance that things were going to happen when they needed to happen. Early 2020 was the weirdest thing, because we felt this urgency to make a choice and just decide to buy a place in Italy and start from there. In late 2019, we were looking around more intensely than before, and we felt that it was the right moment to make the decision. So we booked a trip for Aden to come only by himself and make that decision. I trusted him 100%. I knew that he would do and choose the best place for us, the best place that we could afford for our family, and that's what we did. This time we had decided to focus on a different area of Abruzzo, farther north from the area where we had looked around many years ago, when I came to Italy for the first time. This area was about half an hour from Pescara, which is on the coast. We were trying to be maximum half an hour away from Pescara, which is great because it has an international airport. It's pretty close to Rome, about 2.5 hours, and it's a gorgeous area. We focused on the Maiella National Park area. The national park is quite big, so there are hundreds and hundreds of towns in that area, but Pescara was a central point for us. We looked in towns like Scaffa, San Valentino, Caramanico Terme, Scagnano, and Abatejo. And so Aden had found a house for us, one with a gorgeous view of the forest in front of it and the sound of the river that goes past it down below. It's in the town of Abatejo, a beautiful historical town from medieval times. It has a population of about 400 people. It gets a lot busier in summer. It's a beautiful place, so solid, with vaulted ceilings, with a cantina, and we plan on renovating it. This is just the beginning of the series I'm putting together for you guys to see and understand a little more about our journey. The first episode is a little bit daunting because we didn't have much video footage. We just had pictures from back then. So I hope that at least you're still finding it entertaining. And yes, thank you so much for watching. There is a lot more to come, more interactive and hopefully more entertaining. Thank you so much to our new subscribers. Thank you to the comments, and thank you to the people that have been commenting on our last video where I was feeling a little bit down. Yes, things are definitely getting better in regards to the weather. It's not as windy, it's a bit cooler, but that's okay. Please keep watching, sharing and liking our videos. We'll see you hopefully later this week again. And yes, let me know what you think of this particular one. Thank you so much and see you soon. Ciao.